Alright, this is going to be really interesting. Hit it. Hello everyone and welcome to the Bearded Geeks, the weekly grab bag of topics covering movies, comics, video games and TV. My name is Jages, I am the Beard Master, and nobody is with me today. I'm here in the Beard Cave on my own. I'm doing an episode on my own today. Bob's obviously off doing the whole dad thing, which is great, and Pat is absolutely swamped this week and has to fly out to Melbourne like at 6 o'clock Friday morning, something ridiculous. So, unfortunately, he can't come tonight, so it's just me. Now, I could have got someone on, but, you know, I kind of wanted to try to do this myself, see how I go. Normally, I have the guys here to bounce off, but today, I'm just going to bounce off you guys and see what happens, you know? We'll see how we go. So, yeah. God, it's lonely here. Jesus. So how is everyone? I hope everyone is well, all our bearded listeners. I hope you're well out there in the world and all your weeks are going very great. I'm not doing too bad. It's pretty bloody hot here, actually. Like, we're just on the very end of spring, but I can tell you that summer has pretty much already started. Geez, it was like 28 degrees here today, 31 degrees I think it's going to be on Friday, so it's pretty hot. It's pretty hot all around. Good days to be sitting out in the sun, having a few beers with the boys. But they're all busy, so I can't really. But we can't blame them, such is life, but we persevere, we go on. So, yeah, hope everyone's well. Everything's going alright here. New telly's going great. Haven't had a problem with it, so fingers bloody crossed. Samsung, I'm really still kind of pissed about that, you know. I really did like that TV, but, you know, you didn't sort your bloody shit out. We would have been alright. But anyway, first off today, I need to say happy birthday. At the time of this recording, today is the birthday of our very first official beard, Brad. Brad, it's your birthday. Well, technically today, but by the time you hear this, it would have been like 3 or 4 days ago. So, Brad, just want to say happy birthday, mate. I actually sent you a personal message this morning, you know, tell you how much of a bloody legend and that you are. But yeah, thanks very much for the, you know, all the shout outs and everything and all the love you give the show. So, love in return, brother. Happy birthday, mate. Hope it's going well. And hope you get a nice big fat cake. Because there's nothing better than cake on your birthday. Bloody love it. Anyway, so, man, last week, Pat and I were talking about Star Wars Battlefront 2. And all the controversy that was going on behind that game. I mean, it is actually insane. By the time last week's episode went up, you know, the news was already like 3 or 4 days out of date. But the amount of stuff that had happened between then and the release of the episode, it's freaking insane. Like, the day before release, the day before the release, the worldwide release of the game, EA pulled all the microtransactions. So all the paid content and everything and that, the loot boxes and everything, that whole system, they removed it from the game. Apparently, a day or two later, it came out that there might have been a lot of pressure from Disney for them to pull that content. So, you know, Disney pretty much run the world at the moment, you know, entertainment-wise. You know, they've got Star Wars, Marvel, all that sort of stuff. But, you know, Star Wars is this massive, like, global phenomenon, this massive IP. And, I mean, The Last Jedi is out in less than a month. The whole point of this game coming out in November is to generate buzz for The Last Jedi. But I don't think this is the kind of buzz that Disney wanted. And, yeah, this is not good. It is not going well for EA at all at the moment. So I think they got a little bit of pressure from Disney to pull those microtransactions. And so a lot's happened. Like, honestly, I can't even remember it. Like, I'm sort of keeping an eye on it day to day. But, oh, man, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. I mean, the Belgium Gaming Commission was apparently going to investigate the whole, you know, pay to win, the loot box thing, you know, to check, you know, if it actually is, you know, whether they decide it is like gambling for kids or gambling, you know, online gambling. And it's just literally just come out today that they've decided that yes, it is online gambling or whatever and that, and they've decided that they want to ban it, like in Belgium. They want to try to ban it in Belgium, you know, and that area or whatever. It's absolutely insane. I think we had a Hawaiian congressman. I don't have the guy's name. I'm just going off the top of my head here, but he came out in this massive YouTube video, pretty much just absolutely condemning the game, well, not the game particularly, but the system, the loot box system and that in the game, the pay system. and saying that, that it is, a Star Wars online casino and it is absolutely, like, predatory. And it's just none of this is great for EA. This is, like, really bad. Apparently, the other day, for the first week, the physical copy sales for Star Wars Battlefront 2 were down, I think it was like 61% compared to the sales of the original game, and everyone knows what the original game was like. It's just like, it was pretty much just plain bread, it was not, you gotta pay for the butter and the jam or the meat and, all the salads and that later to go on it, that's gonna cost you extra, so we all know how everyone felt about that game, but holy crap, man, it's insane, but it's also at the same time very hilarious. It's like, screw EA, man. Like, you guys make a lot of money already, Yeah, it's always important for big businesses to make money, but, this is blown up in their face, something fierce, and this has brought a lot of attention to, like, not only, like, the gaming, like, media, but, like, the official, like, media, like CNN were reporting on this the other day, and yeah, it's been brought sort of to the forefront, sort of to the mainstream, and yeah, it's not looking good for EA, and it's actually not looking good for pay to win or, loot crate systems or loot box systems for gaming at all. So I think, as much as we were worried last week about there being, a big change for us, I think it's about swaying back in the other direction, and it's going to be a big change for gaming studios. I mean, I don't think we're going to take this, which is a good thing. But, I mean, what does that mean for every other game out there? Like, Shadow of War's still out there, and it's still running, and people are still playing it. Like, I haven't played it. We've talked about this before. Like, I want to play it. The game's sitting there, and, I mean, they've just got to be sitting there, like, real quiet. Just be like, let's not just mention the loot system we've got in our game. Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. I mean, I found out the other day that, like, Take-Two Interactive, their earnings for the day, like, their daily earnings for, like, shark cards and that is nearly $5 million a day. That's a lot of bloody paper coming in just from shark cards. And it's all your fault, Patrick Brown. When you listen to this, you can chuckle to yourself, but it's all your bloody fault. But, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, more happens on this every day. And it's going to continue to happen. So by the time you hear this, even more is going to have happened. And, it's insane. It's really insane. But also at the same time, like I said, incredibly hilarious. It's just, this development is actually, it's really good, because this is something that's really important and really should be checked on. Like, I talked about Overwatch and that last week about having, just like, everything was cosmetic and that in their game. But, it's still... People, I see people online, like, I follow people on Instagram and stuff who get real addicted to, like, these new costumes, like, themed costumes. Like, Halloween was coming around for Overwatch, and everyone was getting real excited, and they're like, I need to get this costume, I need to get this one costume, and the grinding and everything that they're doing to try to get this costume. What's to say that, that one person's grinding, but how many people out there just went out and just bought, crates after crates after crates to try and get, these rare, like, costumes and stuff. I mean, there are people out there that do it. I guarantee you, there's people out there doing it right now. I mean, what do you guys think of the whole pay to win thing? I mean, Overwatch players out there, I mean, how many of you, like, have actually bought, like, any of the loot crates for anything, like, cosmetic? I know you got your emotes and your costumes and skins and whatever else you get in Overwatch, but, I mean, who else actually bought Star Wars Battlefront 2? I mean, you comment below, comment on our Facebook page or whatever. Tell us, like, what do you actually think of Battlefront 2? I mean, now that the microtransaction system's been removed, I mean, is the game actually, like, worth a purchase? Is it a good game? Like, are you happy that microtransactions are gone? Or are you one of these people who, like, I'm not going to go out and buy crates every day, but it would be nice to know that, if I had a spare $20 in my account, I could just shell it out and, buy, like, with a chance of getting something rare. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, tell us. Write to Patrick Brown, specifically on one of his artwork Patrick Brown pages or his website or DeviantArt or something. Get on there and just say, this is what I bloody think about Star Wars, Pat. I know you're not the biggest Star Wars guy, but this is what I bloody think. Microtransactions. Fuck EA. Anyway, yeah, it's bug nuts. It's absolutely bug nuts. But, these are conversations that we need to have about these kind of things. Pay to win, loot box systems. It's something we've got to really focus on. But then, at the same time, I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming out. Are they crapping themselves at the moment? Are Take-Two crapping themselves? Like, hey, we better just, like, you know, the game's not out for another 5-6 months, but we just better, like, just keep an eye on this and see how it goes, and then we just better, like, dole it back or whatever. I mean, what's going to happen? It's really interesting. I mean, there hasn't been, like, this big of a story in video games for forever. I mean, it's been ages. This is a very controversial topic, and I mean, maybe I will go out and buy Star Wars Battlefront 2 now. I don't know. EA did say that they removed the microtransactions, but they were going to work on it. We did get it wrong or whatever. We screwed up in a press release or whatever they put out, and we're going to work on it and constantly tweak it or whatever until we get it right. Well, you know what? They may not even do it now. Who knows? And even, like, reviews I've seen, comments in that I've read, they said even the progression system without, like, all the microtransactions, it's flawed. It's painful. The story campaign's real lackluster and boring. Maybe I'll buy it at some stage. Maybe in 12 months there'll be heaps of tweaks or whatever and it'll be a better game for it. But, you know what? Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Anywho, I think we're going alright so far, everyone. It is actually very different sitting here on my own. I used to have, you know, Bob just here over from me and Pat here in front of me, you know, with his pearly whites and his baby skin hands. Yeah, it's very different sitting here on my own. I don't know how people do podcasts on their own. It's actually, it's really different just sitting in a room and talking to a microphone and just like, I really hope people are actually going to enjoy this. Yeah, it's different for us, but it's actually something that I did want to try. Like, I wanted this challenge, you know, sort of going into the end of the year and taking our Christmas break and stuff. I just wanted to see how we go. And yeah, I hope we do alright. But what I am going to focus on today is I'm going to talk about The Punisher Season 1 on Netflix. I finished watching that last night. And I'm going to sit here and just spill out some thoughts in that today. Yeah, just roll it off my head and we'll just, yeah, we'll talk about The Punisher. Got a bit of news in that here for everyone. But, you know what? It's that time. It's time for Drop the Beard. Drop the Beard! Seeing as I'm the only one here today, there's only one song this week, so I can't have Pat sitting over there, like, nominating a synth thing and... You know, I can't even remember the last bloody song Bobby suggested for the playlist, but anyway. Me today, I'm going back in time. I'm going back in time about 5 years. When I first moved here to Launceston in Tasmania, Pat bugged me for years. He's like, you gotta move to Lonnie, mate. You gotta move up here. It's the best. You'll love it. We can go out and we can do stuff and it'll be great. You'll love it. Get up here, mate. Get up here. For years he tried to get me to move. Eventually I did move and I moved up here. And I moved in with Pat, and I lived with him for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. But then I moved out, and I got my own place, and I rented a 2-story townhouse right here in the centre of town, across the road from an Irish bar. So every Friday and Saturday night, you could hear it pumping from the bedroom. Boof, 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 you know, douche, douche. All that bloody music and that the hip kids listen to or whatever, but I'm too old for because I got to go to bed early. Anyway, so... When I moved into this place, I had my little iPod speaker system and my iPod in there, and one album I used to listen to from the band Duckseed, and the album was, what was it, The Poison Awaits? I think it was. Shit, I've even forgotten it. It's been that long. But one song off that album that I used to, like, rock all the time, I used to pump the shit out of that speaker system, was A Dual Pact. And I really did love that song, like, when I got that going, because this place was all timber. It was timber floors and high ceilings, and I barely had any furniture, so every time you cranked it up, it would just rattle and echo, and I blasted the shit out of that song. And I still love that song, you know. Darkseid can be a bit of an acquired taste for people, but, you know, that's one album that I do actually particularly like, yeah. It's a fun album. I do like that album. I like to pump the shit out of it. Fuck yeah, it's a great album. Anyway, that's it for Drop the Beard this week. Drop the Beard! If you want to check out our Drop the Beard playlist, you can jump on Spotify, check it out, search for the Bearded Geeks or Drop the Beard, and you can check out our playlist of all our suggested songs for the year 2017. Some great tracks on there. It's the kind of thing, Spotify is great for that, because we recommend these tracks. You know, you might find something on there you like, but then Spotify will go and, hey, if you like this, then here's a couple other bands or, you know, whatever that's similar. Check these out. And then, yeah, it's just like a domino effect. You discover one thing you like, and then you go into something else, and something else after that. It's just like dominoes. They just keep falling. Just keep finding great music. But the amount of music on there, I mean, yeah, there's a lot to go through. Pat reckons he's listened to all of it. Jesus. He's not even here, and I'm just giving him shit. That's what I do. I love him. That's what mates do. We hang shit on each other, but we love each other. I love him, the bastard. Anyway. So, we might go on to the news. First of all, I got a bit of news for today. I tried to pack a little bit extra in there because I don't know how long this episode's going to go for. I may get to an hour, maybe a little bit more, but we'll see how we go. So, first of all, this week, got some X-Files news for everyone. Who likes the X-Files? X-Files Season 11 will debut January 11th and will consist of 10 episodes, with 2 being saga episodes, and the rest will be mostly sort of Monster of the Week episodes. I kind of liked Season 10 of the X-Files. How many episodes was it? I think it was 6. Some of the saga episodes were like really out there. It was like end of the world sort of thing, but then the next episode was just like a comedy, like Monster of the Week thing, where like no stakes. I'm like, didn't just like in the last episode... like the whole world of the economy was like collapsing or something like that, and the whole world was in disarray. Isn't that where we left off in the last episode? But, you know, I'm always keen for more X-Files. That was a great series. Like, I didn't watch it a lot growing up. It wasn't until I got a bit older and I watched them. I always like caught it late on TV, you know, whatever. You know, you're meant to go to bed, but you sort of just have a quick flick through the channels, and the X-Files was on. You watch the first couple of minutes. And then Dad comes up and is right, get in the bloody bed. Come on, turn that off, you know, as dads do. But yeah, 10 episodes. I don't know. Maybe that'll be a bit of a stretch, but hopefully it'll be great. I'm really hoping it'll be great. I did read that Gillian Anderson said that after season 11, she's done with the X-Files. So this is, you know, after this, hopefully, I don't know. How can you do the X-Files without Gillian Anderson? I mean... You could have David Duchovny on his own, I suppose, but, I mean, Gillian Anderson did a great job of carrying the torch pretty much by herself when Duchovny left to have a movie career. But, yeah, we all know how that went. But, yeah, I don't know. It wouldn't be the same without her, and I wouldn't like to see the X-Files continue on to, like, a season 12 without Dana Scully, you know. She's like the heart of that show, so... Looking forward to it. We'll see how it goes. What do you all think of the X-Files? What did you think of Season 10? You got any favourite episodes out there you like? Throw them at me, let me know. Put them in the comments. Tell me what you like. Just throw some stuff at me. Let me hear it. Man, I don't know how people podcast solo. I hear like Mark Maron and that like podcasting solo, but he does like a bunch of ads and then he'll play an interview like he pre-recorded and then he'll come back for like the last 5 minutes and I'm like... Yeah, okay. I don't know how people like podcast on their own. It's better to have that banter where you bounce back and forward. But this week, we're just going to try something a little different. So just bear with me. Just bear with me for this 1 week. We're doing okay. We're all carrying the torch here. Now, Batman news, because there's always Batman news lately. Justice League is out. I talked about it heaps last week in my sort of mini review. I think when I listened back to it and I was editing, I think I said, I loved it. I think I said it probably like 30 times. I was like, Jesus, dude. You got your point across, alright? Fuck. Now, with like the Justice League press tour and that, people have been asking Ben Affleck about the Batman again. And you know what? Comic-Con a couple of months ago, he was like, I'll be Batman for as long as they'll have me. I'll be an ape on the ground for Matt Reeves. You know, of course I'll do it. I love this character. I love these stories. He's pretty much come out now and said, you know what, mate? Nah, I don't really want to do it. Ain't my bag anymore. I just want to find a way to make a graceful exit, you know, and a proper exit from the series, from the franchise, you know, from the films or whatever, from the universe. But this has started to come out, and there was a bit of news or a bit of a tidbit that leaked the other day about another actor that Matt Reeves may have in mind for the Batman, who he wants to play Bruce Wayne and the Batman. And they said to take this with a grain of salt at the time, but that actor that he has in mind is Jake Gyllenhaal. I think this is absolutely, amazingly, astoundingly a fantastic choice. Honestly, Jake Gyllenhaal is probably my favourite actor. I don't think that guy can put a foot wrong. And I mean, I think, is he a better actor than Ben Affleck? I think so. And I think one thing about Batman v Superman and Justice League that really put an emphasis on Batman's age, Bruce Wayne's age, because, you know, Batman v Superman, they were just going for that whole Dark Knight Returns thing, like, Batman's an old guy and he's coming back to fight crime, he's getting real old, he's at the end of his tether or whatever, and he's been fighting crime for 20 years in Gotham. You know, they put a lot of emphasis on that. And I talked about this with Bobby and Pat previously. I was like, you know, I really wish they didn't do that. There didn't really need to be so much of an emphasis on his age. I think they're planning that up too much. He probably could have just said it once, maybe twice, and that would have been enough. But it's, harped on quite a bit. Bob said he actually liked that. He actually liked an older Batman sort of at the end of his rope, at the end of his tether. And, he thought that was a cool thing. He liked the old grizzly Batman. But yeah, it just didn't really sit 100% well with me. The one thing they're saying is, now that this Jake Gyllenhaal news has come out, there's even more that's coming out, sort of lending more credibility to Jake Gyllenhaal actually sort of being in contention for this character, possibly being, interested. He's already been approached or whatever. But, Jake Gyllenhaal already did audition for Bruce Wayne and Batman in Nolan's Batman Begins. He didn't actually get the part, but one thing I have read, that if Jake does take it up, he will be about 40 by the time the film comes out or they start filming. So if you take into account, the 20 years that Batman's been fighting crime in Gotham, it would have been 20 years old. Yeah, you know what? That's plausible for me. I can see that. But I have read that there would be less emphasis on that fact. Because it's no fun, starting a DC film universe with a brand new Batman and then having him, as an old man. And as these movies go and the years go, he's meant to be an old guy, and it's just gradually getting older as these movies go. You're it's sort of, walking the line of, realism and plausibility in that, aren't you getting a bit too old? They even touched on a lot of that stuff in Justice League, him being just human and, taking the beatings, and he's too old for this already. We talked about that last week. But I think this is a good thing. If Gyllenhaal come in, I could see him totally inhabiting that bat suit, that character, getting into the mindset. And that would actually be, a really cool dynamic. I would like to see how Jake Gyllenhaal would fit into that dynamic with sort of Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, all those characters. And would they still do the whole Jared Leto Joker thing? Or would they just recast the Joker? How would those two really play off each other? Gyllenhaal and Jared Leto. Could you see them playing off against each other? Batman, the Joker, maybe. After Suicide Squad, maybe we won't get Leto back as the Joker. Who knows? What do you guys think? Jake Gyllenhaal, what do you think about him as Batman? I think this is a great casting. I would love to see this. I could die a happy man if I saw this happen. I was really happy with Ben Affleck being cast. That's the thing with these superhero movies. Heath Ledger's cast as the Joker, there's a total uproar. And then, it's coming out and everyone's, buzz is happening. And then, unfortunately, he passes away and the movie comes out. And it's probably one of the most beloved supervillain roles in a film ever. He won an Oscar for that role posthumously. Who's won an Oscar in a freaking superhero movie before? One guy I can think of, bloody Heath Ledger. I liked Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne. I liked that casting. There was an uproar, but, I was give it the benefit of the doubt. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, He's just been cast. Give him a chance. Let's see him in the suit. Let's see a bit of footage. Let's see how it is. One of my favourite things about Batman v Superman was Ben Affleck's portrayal of not only Bruce Wayne, but as of Batman. That was great. I think he really inhabits that role really well. And that was one of the strong points in that universe, that performance, that role. And yeah, it'll suck to see him leave, and it sucks that he doesn't really want to do it. I don't know why. Maybe it's too much physicality. Maybe the workout's too much in that. Maybe he doesn't want to be known just for that. He was Ben Affleck the actor, and then he was Ben Affleck the director, and he's made a lot of great films, and he's won a lot of great Oscars. Argo was a great film. I do love that film, but I don't know. Maybe he just he wants to be known more as doing his own thing, Ben Affleck the director, rather than Batman played by Ben Affleck. Time will tell, folks. We'll just have to wait and see. But you know what? If this happens, I am freaking keen. One final thing that they did say, Matt Reeves did come out and he said, if we do recast Ben, it won't be a reboot. It will just be a straight continuation from Justice League. So the movies will continue. The actor will just be recast. So you know what? That's a great thing. I don't mind that at all. And next up on our list, for all you bloody Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts fans, Fantastic Beasts sequel. Warner Brothers have just come out and announced the title, which is Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Now, they also released a cast photo which had our very first look at Jude Law as a young Albus Dumbledore. He's got like this real fish pout, like he's really sort of poking those lips out. But you know what? He looks quite good. Like he looks the part. I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. I was more of a fan of the first Fantastic Beasts film. I think it just really appealed to me because, you know, it was an established universe already. It was a little more adult, had more adult characters in that in it, rather than going through a year of school every year. You know, I was too old for Harry Potter when Harry Potter came out. Like, I missed the whole book rage and all that sort of stuff, and then the films and everything. But this Fantastic Beasts, I really liked this. I have the synopsis here, which reads as, well, it's kind of a two-part synopsis, actually. At the end of the first film, the powerful dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald was captured by Makusa, the magical congress of the United States of America, with the help of Newt Scamander. But, making good on his threat, Grindelwald escapes custody and has set about gathering followers most unsuspecting of his true agenda to raise pureblood wizards up to rule over all non-magical beings. In an effort to thwart Grindelwald's plans, Albus Dumbledore enlists his former student Newt Scamander, who agrees to help, unaware of the dangers that lie ahead. Lines are drawn as love and loyalty are tested even among the truest friends and family in an increasingly divided wizarding world. Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. It sounds pretty fun. Like, I did enjoy that first film. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that second one. Like I said, I'm not the biggest, like, hardcore Harry Potter fan. I have seen a lot of those films. I haven't seen them all, and I have enjoyed them, but, you know, I have wanted to, like, sit down and watch them all, you know, at one stage. But, yeah, I'll get around to that. But I really did love that first Fantastic Beasts film. It had, like, this darkness to it, but it really had, like, a charm as well. So, you know what? I'm keen for that. I'll go to the cinema and see that. Why not? That'll be a bit of fun. It'll just be interesting to see how they fit Newt sort of into that storyline. Like, I'm not really sure what sort of a role he would have originally played in that story. Like, I don't know if it was hinted at, like, previously or whatever. I'm sure it would have. But, yeah, like, there's just, like, this big wizarding war coming, so I don't know. I think it's, like, is it, like, set against the backdrop of World War II or something like that? I'm not sure. I think I've heard that somewhere. I've read that somewhere, but I don't know. We'll see. It'll be an interesting film all the same. But, yeah, we'll see. Next up, we've got a new trailer this week. We had the first trailer for The Rock's newest film, one of his new films he's been working on this year, Rampage, based on the hit video game about giant monsters where they just used to smash buildings and fight each other. They've actually made that into a full-fledged movie starring The Rock. Now, we had our first look at the trailer the other day, and it looks, I don't know, it looks really silly and over the top, but also they've, like, tried to make it as serious and realistic as possible, as realistic as you can with that sort of thing. But I mean, I'll pretty much watch whatever The Rock is in, you know. I won't pay to go see it, but, you know, I will make an effort to sit down and watch all of these films. Like, I enjoyed San Andreas and stuff. The Rock, especially the last few years, like, a lighter sort of films and that. Like, he did start off, like, very strange in his movie career. I think he just tried to do, like, a lot of different things, like Southland Tales and that, for example. And then he did, like, some darker sort of revenge and silly action things. But I think sort of in the last probably 3, 4, 5 years, he sort of really hit his stride with movies. And, like, he's just banging them out. Now, like, some maybe not as critically lauded as others, or, you know, as good as others. You know, some of them are pretty ridiculous. Like, yeah, like I said, San Andreas was great, but yeah, that film is really ridiculous. But, you know, like Hercules, for example, that's an okay film, but, you know, it's definitely watchable, and it is enjoyable, but, you know, it's not one of his best. But, yeah, this Rampage looks interesting. Apparently, it was the #1 trending trailer on the internet this week, but I've got the synopsis here. Have a listen to this. Primatologist Davis, I can't actually pronounce this, Davis Okoye, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, a man who keeps people at a distance, shares an unshakable bond with George, the extraordinarily intelligent silverback gorilla who has been in his care since birth. But a rogue genetic experiment gone awry transforms this gentle ape into a raging monster. To make matters worse, it's soon discovered that there are other similarly altered alpha predators, as these newly created monsters tear across North America, destroying everything in their path. Okoye teams with a discredited genetic engineer to secure an antidote, fighting his way through an ever-changing battlefield not only to halt a global catastrophe, but to save the fearsome creature that was once his friend. Holy cow. Oh, it just sounds like... It sounds amazing, but at the same time, it sounds utterly ridiculous as well. But, I mean, at the end, I can't remember what they had in this. They had, like, the giant gorilla. I can't remember what the other thing was. But at the end, they had, like, this giant crocodile. It was freaking huge. And it actually looked pretty good. I'm like, that is so stupid. But at the same time, it's just as freaking cool. Like, yeah, it looks great. It looks stupid, but it looks great as well. I'll watch it. Fuck, I might even pay to watch it. Who knows? We'll see. We had another trailer this week. We had our first teaser trailer for The Incredibles 2. Now, this has been a long time coming because, geez, man, when did The Incredibles first come out? Like 2000... What? 2002? 2003? It's been ages. 2004 even. Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember when it came out. But, I mean, this is a movie that people have waited for a very long time. Like, this is a movie that, like, cried out for a sequel. Not like Cars. I don't know how people can watch those movies. I can pretty much watch anything Pixar, but Cars is the only thing that just didn't grab me. It didn't have that Pixar charm. And they made fucking 3 of them. And I think a TV series as well. Fuck, man. I don't know. I don't know about this last one. I heard it was okay, but that first one was, yeah, it was tough. It was tough for me, but, you know, it had Paul Newman in it, and I'm a big Paul Newman fan, so, you know, I watched it for Paul. Anyway, so we had a teaser trailer, which was pretty much just Jack, like, sneezing and farting and whatever, and he's like, blasting off all his powers and stuff, because he has all these powers, and then his dad comes along, Mr. Incredible, and picks him up, and, like, singes off his hair, and then, you know, boom, title, The Incredibles 2. So, I have the synopsis here for that as well. Everyone's favourite family of superheroes is back in Incredibles 2, but this time Helen is in the spotlight, leaving Bob at home with Violet and Dash to navigate the day-to-day heroics of normal life. It's a tough transition for everyone, made tougher by the fact that the family is still unaware of baby Jack's emerging superpowers. When a new villain hatches a brilliant and dangerous plot, the family and Frozone must find a way to work together again, which is easier said than done, even when they're all incredible. I don't know. It sounds like fun. Of course I'll watch that movie. Like, yeah, I really enjoyed that first one, especially Samuel L. Jackson. Where's my super suit? Frozone was cool. He's pretty much just Iceman ripoff, but, you know, no one's saying anything. That's fine. The Incredibles 2. There are a lot of Pixar movies out there. One Pixar movie I haven't seen, actually, is Inside Out. I haven't actually seen that movie. I heard it was really good, though. I think it's on Netflix. I think it might even be in my watch list. I don't know. That's one that I've actually got to sit down and watch, though. I did watch Ratatouille again not that long ago. That's a really good movie. Yeah, it looks great as well. But one of my favourite Pixars, you know, it's a toss-up between, like, you know, the Toy Story films and WALL-E. Like, that movie just grabbed me, like, right from the get-go. From that first trailer, I'm just like, this is the most charming motherfucking thing I've ever seen. And I went and saw that in the cinema, and it was one of the best cinema trips I ever had. Like, it was great. It was absolutely beautiful to look at. Such a well-directed film, and so well, like, emotion just, like, conveyed by these, like, little robots that pretty much only really say their names. Yeah. Those guys at Pixar can work some magic. Guys and girls, I should say, rather. Beg your pardon. Anyway, our last bit of news for today. Our final bit of news. Now, this is something that's kind of interesting because, you know, DC, everything DC that's going on at the moment, but it's just been announced, hot off the presses, that Harley Quinn, everyone's favourite Suicide Squad character, or whatever, you know, she's gotten really big over the last couple of years. She's pretty much like the DC equivalent of Deadpool now. You know, she sort of has that ridiculous sort of fourth wall breaking sort of humour and stuff, and she gets in ridiculous situations, and she has like 1 million books a year. Anyway, Harley Quinn is getting her own animated series, which is described as an adult animation action comedy. And the first series will consist of 26 half-hour episodes, which is going to debut on DC's new digital platform that they have. It seems that maybe they're having a new streaming platform of their own coming out in 2018. That'll be really interesting. I've read that they do want Margot Robbie to come in and do the voice of Harley, which I don't think will be a bad thing. An adult action comedy, though. That sounds really interesting. I'm definitely down for that. You know, there are a lot of DC shows out there, you know, animated series. Of course there have been, like Batman the animated series. Like, that show's just pure magic and bliss. You know, you had Superman the animated series, you had all the Justice League shows, you had, you know, Teen Titans, and then they turned around and ruined it. I think, what did they make it? Teen Titans Go? They made it like a real sort of kiddie version and stuff. You know, they had like Batman Beyond, the Batman, Batman the Brave and the Bold, which is more of a sort of like kiddie, ridiculous sort of version of Batman and that. But, you know, this is really interesting because this is more, you know, DC do the adult animation thing with their DC animated features. I mean, we've got Batman Gotham by Gaslight coming out soon, you know, which is, you know, Jack the Ripper and people being murdered and, you know, all the stuff they had in The Killing Joke, even the last animated movie, you know, the Batman and Harley Quinn, there was some real, like, apparently there was some sexy overtones in that, Nightwing tied to a bed and Harley Quinn getting changed in front of him and stuff, you know, like, hinted innuendo and that there, you know, of stuff they might have got up to together, but, you know, they're not afraid of pushing a bit of edgy in their animated film, so it would be really interesting to see, you know, an animated series for them that is edgier, more adult. An adult action comedy. So that's pretty cool. One of my favourite adult animated shows actually was Spawn, the animated series. I got a lot of love for that show. That is actually a really dark series. The first season was great. Like, it's pretty much straight out of the comics, really dark. It's got this real, like, dark, brooding tone. And it's somewhat like some of the musical choices in that, like the opening theme for the show is just has this real, like, unsettling, like, undertone and that to it. It was really great. The second and third series went a little bit sort of in a different direction. I think it got a little bit more maybe it's spiritual, a little more metaphysical, stuff like that. It's been years since I've watched seasons 2 and 3. I mean, I've watched season 1 to death. I had all of season 1 on VHS. I think it was like 3 different tapes. You had like 3 or 4 episodes on a tape. Oh, I had them all. I never saw the second or third seasons until they released the 10th anniversary Steelbook, which was 10 years ago now. Man, that was a long time. So I think the only time I've actually watched that was about 10 years ago, so I think I'm due for a rewatch. I mean, I've watched the first seasons time and time again, like, since, but I've never actually pushed through season 2 and 3 again. That is a really great series. Like, if you haven't seen that, I mean, even if you're not the biggest animation fan, but you like a dark, adult story, I mean, definitely give Spawn the animated series a try. I mean, it was a fucking HBO series. And you know what, HBO, Game of Thrones, you know what they're like. I mean, they really push out some sort of gritty and edgy content. I have wanted a sequel for that series for years. I heard we were getting one. There was a little animated teaser, you know, the I'm Back teaser. But now I've read also, going off a little tangent here, but I've read also that Tom McFarlane's Spawn movie, I think he wants David Keith to come back to do the voice of Spawn. I did hear ages ago that he talked to Jamie Foxx about playing, you know, Al Simmons and Spawn. But I think that was before he went to Blumhouse and he got his $10 million budget. I mean, you know, maybe Jamie Foxx will come and do it, but maybe they'll just make Spawn just like a whole CG creature and just have David Keith back to do the voice. And you know what? I would be totally fine with that. You know, that would be fine. They could get David Keith to do, like, the motion capture and stuff, the performance capture, and just make Spawn a whole CG thing. I mean, half the time you'll probably just be decked in shadow anyway, so you won't see much. But, you know, that's an interesting play. Harley Quinn series sounds good. I'll definitely tune in and watch that. The show is also going to feature, like, Poison Ivy and a lot of, like, different Batman characters, you know, ranging from sort of A to sort of Z grade Batman characters. So we're going to see a lot of cameos and a lot of different characters in that show. So that'll be great. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll drop in 2018, like I said. But, you know, also, while we were talking about it, Spawn the animated series, like, definitely check that out, because that is one great animated series. I dare say that's probably one of my favourite animated series ever, actually. I actually forgot about that. I don't know why I didn't put that on my top 5 TV shows list. It's too hard to pick 5 shows and just narrow it into a category. There's just so much great content out there. Anyway, what do you Harley Quinn fans think? I mean, is this something you're keen for? I mean, definitely, I reckon. Most Harley Quinn fans will pretty much sign up for anything. I mean, Suicide Squad 2, no doubt's coming. Harley Quinn, you know, the Gotham Sirens movie, Joker and Harley Quinn, Harley Quinn animated series, getting Margot Robbie back, that'll be like a big draw as well. But, I mean, tell me what you think. You know, what is your favourite? Tell me some of your favourite animated series. Is there any adult animated series out there that you actually really like? Like, tell me some. Let me know. Like, I'm always on the lookout for something new, something different. So, yeah, hit me up. Hit me up with shit. I want to know. Anyway, so that's the end of the news. We'll cut it off there, and we'll go into The Punisher. So, man, I think we're going to get non-spoiler today. We're not going to do any spoilers. It's no fun having spoilers. It's very hard to talk about a TV series without going into spoilers. Like, it's kind of easy talking about a 2-hour movie without going into spoilers. Even then, it's quite difficult. Like, I struggled a bit last week. But, I mean, you've got, like, the season 1 of The Punisher was 13 episodes. There's nearly 13 hours of content there to try and not spoil for anyone. But you know what? We will see how we go. I think we'll go back just to the beginning of sort of Marvel Netflix. Like, when Daredevil season 1 was announced, like, that was a great idea. Like, Netflix, they're going for a darker, edgier series. That's great. That's a great idea. Daredevil season 1 hit, and holy cow, that pretty much just, like, knocked me off my feet. Like, that was such a great series. Perfect casting there. Like, Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk is probably one of the top 5 best Marvel castings, like perfect castings of a Marvel character, you know, like actor to character. Like, it was great casting. Like, as soon as you suggest, like, who are we going to get for Wilson Fisk? What about Vincent D'Onofrio? Holy fuck. Why didn't I ever think of that? That's a great idea. You know, that's what it was like. That first series was absolutely fucking great. Like, I don't think I can really fault that first season. Then we had Jessica Jones, which was great. I actually really liked that too. That was a great season. We had Luke Cage. I actually really liked Luke Cage. It really felt like 2 different shows, like split in half though, because you got halfway through the season and one bad guy was gone and then they brought in another one. It felt like 2 seasons smashed together. Then we had Iron Fist. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the less we say about that, the better. That was tough to binge. That was tough to get through. There's a lot of low points in that. There was some great stuff in there I actually enjoyed. It was kind of different enough from other series and stuff, but, you know, hopefully they pull it in the second season. And then we had The Defenders, which was great. They cut it down to 8 episodes. I thought it was a good series. I didn't think it was anything stellar, but I thought, like, it was really good. It was solid. Like, the sum of all its parts just sort of came together really well, and I thought it was a great series. I thought it was a great season of TV. Like, I had a good time with it. And then we had season 2. We had season 2 of Daredevil as well, which introduced Frank Castle, the Punisher. Now, this was another, like, casting, like, hit the nail on the bloody head casting. John Bernthal as Frank Castle, the Punisher. It's just, he goes into that list of, like, top 5 Marvel casting. Like, I'd put him up there, like, Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk, John Bernthal as the Punisher, Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes, Chris Evans as Captain America, and the bloody kid that plays Peter Parker. I forgot his fucking name. Pat's gonna kill me. The little British kid that was in Civil War plays Spider-Man Homecoming. He was fucking great. I've forgotten his name already. Jesus, what's wrong with me? Anyway, Daredevil season 2. The Punisher's debut, like, those first 5 episodes of that season, I thought were absolutely great. Like, was stellar. Once the Punisher was captured, and it sort of, I think it really started to go off the rails by there. And honestly, a lot of people complain about these next Netflix shows. I know I've definitely been one of them. That the seasons they're too long, you know. There's probably, you know, 6 to 10 episodes of content there, depending on which season we're talking about. But they're all 13 episode seasons, you know, and they're just like stretched out. There's all this padding, subplots, just recurring characters over and over and over and over again. But The Punisher, I feel at points it may have that problem. Like, there is a subplot in The Punisher. I'll get to this a bit later. But, you know, I didn't feel like the 13 episodes of The Punisher was too much. I felt like it was pretty good. Maybe if you wanted to cut it down, you could probably cut it down to maybe about 10, and it'd still be pretty comfortable. You could probably cut it down even further, maybe to 8 if you really wanted to hack at it. But I think maybe if you got it down to about 10, that would have been fine. But, you know, the 13 that were there, like, I had a great time. I didn't really feel like it dragged at all too much. You know, you sort of get like that Netflix, like, Marvel TV show lull around sort of episode 5, 6, 7. You know, you get that real low point where it's sort of, you know, just coasting along, padding before it starts to pick up again, getting towards, you know, the finale. So I'll start off with the story. Like, the story of the Punisher picks up like 6 months, I think, after the end of Daredevil Season 2. And Frank has pretty much punished everyone. He's punished everyone for, like, the murder of his family, his wife, son, and daughter. And now he's pretty much just living a quiet life. Everyone thinks he's dead. Everyone thinks that Frank Castle, the Punisher, is dead. And he's sort of just living a quiet life as, like, a construction worker and that, under a false name. And he sort of just keeps to himself, all the while dealing with, like, he's just haunted by the murder of his family. Like, when he's asleep, he just has nightmares. Even when he's awake, like, it's a constant thing for him. He just goes through this, and sort of the first episode of this season was, like, a really great setup. It was great, like, introducing some new characters, but also just picking up from where Frank left off and where he is now. And him, even though he's avenged his family, he's punished all the people responsible, he still has to struggle with that. He still has to struggle with that loss. He has to cope with his family not being there, like, feeling responsible for his family's death. But the first episode was great. Like, he's just keeping to himself. He's just smashing walls with a sledgehammer, like, constantly. The end of that episode was, like, a massive high point for me. Like, I really love the end of that episode. I won't talk about it. I won't spoil it. But get to the end of that first episode. That last 10 minutes is just fucking primo. It is ace. Like, John Bernthal in this role, he really has the essence of that just rage-filled animal. Like, when he goes into a rage, he goes into a, you know, like, people get angry and they'll be like, and throwing punches and whatever. Like, he just roars. He screams at the top of his lungs. It's like a bull coming at you, like, charging. He's just, like, at the top of his lungs. It's like, you can just feel, like, when he's fighting or when he's shooting or when he's, like, taking on someone, you could just feel all that rage just coming out of him at 100 miles an hour, just hitting you in every way he can, in his fists, in the looks on his face, in, you know, his voice, his rage, his roar. You know, you can just hear all that, and you can feel all that, and it's intense. Like, this guy does intense, like, really well. But on the flip side of that same coin, he really plays, you know, in the quieter moments, he really has a humanity, like, to this character. He really portrays that humanity, like, very well. Like, there are a lot of scenes where he's just interacting with characters and he'll barely say a few words, but you can see it all in his face, in his acting, the looks on his face, his body language, the way he moves. You know, he barely talks, you know, but he really conveys that humanity very well, just as well as good as he conveys the rage and the anger, you know, in the violence and the fight scenes and that. At the same time, he has just this beautiful human side. Beautiful human side, listen to me. But it's true, like, there's this just humanity about him that's there. It's under the surface. You can see the guy's really hurting with everything that's happened to him, everything he's dealing with, you know, and he's just trying to do his best. Essentially, the story for the first season is, look, I'm all over the place here. It's really hard bouncing off people. You know, there's no one here to bounce off of. So, you know, kind of just, mine's running a mile a minute, but, yeah, we're doing it. So the story is pretty much Frank uncovers this big military, or is sort of dragged into this military conspiracy where he actually finds out that he may not have gotten all the people responsible for his family's murder. And that just sets him off again. In this season, in this series, we get the introduction of another big Punisher character, and that's David Lieberman, Microchip, or Micro, as pretty much he goes by in the comics and in the show. There's a little bit of different casting, because in the comics, Micro is just portrayed as like a short, stocky, a short, fat guy, who's balding, glasses and whatever, you know, just like computer nerd or whatever. You know, he's the materials man, you know, he's the guns guy. He's the one that supplies all the guns to Frank, you know, all the intel. He's the one that hacks all the systems and all that sort of stuff. Gives him a clear path to his punishment. In this, they've gone with a bit of different casting. They cast Eben Moss Bacharach as David Lieberman, and he's hiding underground, pretty much he's embroiled in this same similar conspiracy that Frank is in as well. And Micro sort of brings, reaches out to Frank and pretty much recruits him because they have the same goal. The men that Lieberman need to stop so he can get back to his life, get back to his family, are the same people that Frank is now after. These same people that he finds out are still as responsible, for his family's murder as all the people he's punished already in Daredevil Season 2. So, Lieberman being the computer nerd and, he's not the knife, he's not the tip of the spear, he needs a focused weapon. Like, he needs Frank. And Frank needs David just as much. They need each other, and in this series, they really complement each other really well. Like, they start off pretty rocky in that, it's a pretty hard relationship at first, but once the season gets to about the halfway mark and over, they really start to warm up to each other and they really, start to form this, well, you'd say friendship, this bond and stuff, but yeah, it's really great. Eben Moss-Bachrach, he really is, the heart of this season. He's really, one of the big emotional cores. He's the glue that sort of holds the show together. He's got his own subplot about stumbling across some information that he shouldn't have and trying to get it to the right people and then being, targeted and thought eliminated, by these people responsible. But, he's been hiding underground, to protect his family, and all he wants to do is get back to his wife and his 2 children. Which actually makes a big dynamic for Frank, because Frank's lost his wife and kids, and in trying to learn more about Lieberman before they actually meet, he ends up approaching or happening to come across this same family of the wife and 2 kids. So, as the series progressed, they sort of also become, a man who's lost his family, his wife and 2 kids. Here is this man who's lost his wife and 2 kids, and they're there, they think, their husband, her husband, their father, is dead. And this guy comes in, and it makes kind of a great sort of dynamic, what's going to happen between these two. Frank sort of found, this pseudo surrogate family, that he could pretty much just easily slip into, if he wanted to. He could really just slip in and sort of become the husband, the father figure for this family and that. So that's another interesting aspect, of that show, for that character. There is some other really great casting in the show. Ben Barnes, who is cast as Billy Russo, who's one of Frank's former squad mates, one of his former team members and stuff. This guy is pretty stellar in this role. He plays, he plays a dark, but also sort of comedic, charming, at sometimes slimy character. He does that really well. He can play that role really well. I mean, these are 2 great... Ben Barnes has had 2 great television series runs in a row. Last year he was in Westworld as Logan. He was great in that show. And now he's come over here and he's done The Punisher and he's just as good in this show. I mean, there's some great casting in the show, but there is a lot going on. There is another character who's actually cast. There's a big subplot about, the show really tackles... One thing it actually tackles really well is PTSD. Watching this, I really felt not that I've never been to war or anything, and I never had PTSD, but watching this show, I really felt like I understood more. I understood better what it was like, what PTSD is like by watching this show. They portrayed it really well. As watching this really feels like this is kind of what it's like to have PTSD. I think it's really interesting the way they've pulled that off. It just feels really... It feels authentic, So I think they've really done a great job in that respect. Anyway, in the show, they have a group and stuff where all these shell-shocked and PTSD return servicemen and women can come and they can talk, group therapy sessions. They talk about their experiences and that, and they all just try to help each other, just get it out, and they're not alone and stuff. But there is another character here, and that character is Lewis Wilson, played by Daniel Webber, who's an Aussie actor, I believe. He was also in 11/22/63. He played Lee Harvey Oswald in that show, and he just happened to be a US Marine in that show as well. So this guy's getting typecast maybe just a little bit, but Lewis He's a younger military guy. He's back from service. He probably plays his mid-20s or whatever, but, he's a guy struggling with his own PTSD. And there's a big subplot with him in the show. I think probably this is one of my main negatives about the show. There's a subplot where a lot of time is put into this character, and we spend a lot of time with this guy, over the season, probably from probably the first 10 episodes, we spend a lot of time with this guy, but the final payoff of the end of his subplot, it doesn't really match, that setup, the amount of time that we spent off the end of that subplot is, it just feels a bit anticlimactic. And in regard to, being able to maybe cut, if anybody complains that probably the series is too long, in that regard, cutting the show down, they probably could have trimmed a lot out of that subplot. Because like I said, we do spend a lot of time with that guy. We spend a lot of time with that character. But, you know what? There are a lot of great scenes in that with him. And, it's really hard. Like I said, they sort of portray that PTSD really well. And I really feel like they've done their research in that with this show. The actors do a really great job with it. It just feels authentic. Karen Page from Daredevil, Deborah Ann Woll, is in this. She returns in this series and that as well. One problem I had with Daredevil Season 2, I really just felt like there was too much Karen Page. If they were trying to fill, all these, holes and they had to fill up these 13 episodes, I think there was just, too much they filled with Karen Page. I felt she was everywhere at all times. There was this one scene where in one episode she got captured or whatever, and then Daredevil saved her, and there was this cop there, and, he helped her and stuff, at the end, after it was all done. And then the very next episode, she was into something else, and then she was, rescued again, and that same cop was there. And you could just, see the look on his face. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? This has been 2 nights in a row. You've gotten into shit, life-threatening shit. What are you doing? Yeah, I felt there was too much Karen Page in season 2. But in the Punisher, I feel like she's used really effectively. She is brought back in, but she's not overdone. It's not overcooked. She's not, in the show too much. I never really felt like that. There was an episode, I think there was episode 10, where the episode plays out, it's the same story, but from multiple perspectives. So everyone's telling the same story. So the story starts and then it ends with one person, and then they'll go to the next person and they'll retell the story from their point of view. So it's it's the same story replayed from different angles and stuff. Again, that was probably another episode that probably could have been cut or condensed out. It felt you could have just easily just slotted that out and taken the most important stuff out of that episode and just worked it in somewhere else. But yeah, she is in that episode, but I don't feel she's too overcooked or overused on this show. She comes and she goes, and then maybe an episode or two later she'll pop up again, and then maybe later in the series she'll pop up again, for another couple episodes. But yeah, like I said, I don't feel like she's overused, unlike Daredevil Season 2. It was really great having such a grounded series. Superheroes are great, and everything, but, you're flipping around and fighting ninjas and all that sort of stuff. That's great. But, sometimes, I really just want, a show with, government spooks and military conspiracies, and over-the-top machine gun fights and knife fights and all that sort of stuff. It's nice to go back to a grounded tale, and that's what The Punisher is. It's literally just a guy on a massive vengeance trip. He just wants to punish all the evildoers and that, out there. He just wants to hurt people. He just wants to right the wrongs and hurt bad people, But yeah, it was really great having a series that was so grounded, that took all the superheroics out of it. If you're expecting any of the Defenders to show up in this series, then, you're shit out of luck. And I think the series would have, it probably would have been to the series' detriment. It's not needed. It doesn't need to be needed. There's no reference in the show. I don't think there's really any reference of Daredevil, Iron Fist, or any other Marvel Netflix show. Just aside from Karen Page and maybe one or two other characters that have appeared in the other seasons and the other series that show up. But yeah, it was great having such a grounded story. But then, On top of that, one thing you're probably wondering about, you know, this guy's the Punisher. He's out to punish people. He's out to hurt people. He's out to kill people. Jags, what about the violence on the show? Holy fuck. It probably starts off slow, but as you get through, like, there are some really great action scenes in this, and they're all very different. Like, some scenes we get in alleyways and in bar rooms, and then there is another great action scene out in the woods, and they're all very different. They're all sort of tailored very differently. Like, sometimes Frank will be like armed to the teeth and going up against guys. Another time it'll be just a knife fight. Another time will just be a straight up fist fight. Another time he'll be in the woods up against this group of like armed to the teeth commandos, and he doesn't really have nothing, you know, he just has his wits and he's sneaking around like a bow and arrow and shit. That's great. But as we get toward the end of the season, it really picks up and it really gets back into Punisher mode. And holy fuck, in the last few episodes, does he punish the shit out of people. Like, if you've got a weak stomach and you don't like a lot of blood and stuff, I mean, you might have a bit of trouble with these last couple episodes, because this is definitely the most violent Marvel Netflix show. Like, you thought, like, what was it, Daredevil Season 1 with Wilson Fisk, like, smashing the Russian dude's head in the door to jelly? You thought that was bad? Just wait till you see some of the shit in this. Like, holy fuck. As bad as it was, you know, like, you get, like, the big action, like, aficionado guy in that, and you really put yourself in Frank's shoes, and, like, there are scenes where he's, like, really, like, punishing people, and you're like, yeah, that's it, like, bloody get him, punish him. And then you're just like, oh, fuck, you know. But yeah, it's great. It does a really good job. Some of it is a little bit more gratuitous, but yeah, some of these gun battles and that are really great. Some of the trailers don't really portray it truthfully as well as it is. 13 episodes. There's a lot of room to have gunfights and that in there, which there are, but they're not as much, it's not as action-packed as those trailers make it out to be. I mean, there's a lot of character stuff in here. There's a lot of, like, interaction with families and, like, you know, trailing. You know, we have a lot of different characters. We've got characters, you know, they're in Homeland Security that are also trying to solve this big conspiracy, this big mystery, you know, that Frank is also, like, trying to track down all these guys and that, you know, that he's involved in. And, yeah, Madani, by the way, another great character. Not so much, what's his name, Smith, or Sam Smith, or whatever Stein, or whatever his name was, her partner. I think that actor, he did a great job. I think, what's his name, Nathan Williamson, or something like that? If I'm getting that wrong, I'm sorry. But, you know, I think he did a pretty good job, but he kind of felt a little bit out of place for me. But, what was I talking about? I don't even know. I've lost my train of thought. I'm going across so much here. But yeah, it's a really great show, like, all in all. But yeah, like, yeah, the violence, that's what we were talking about, the action. Yeah, there's a lot of action in there. He doesn't really sort of get back to being the Punisher until sort of the tail end. Like, he pulls bulletproof vest on with the big skull and that on it. And when he does that, it's great. It's like a massive payoff. But yeah, I think this was a really great series. Is it my favorite Netflix series? Marvel Netflix series? You know what? I really did love this, but I think I'm just going to have to put Season 1 of Daredevil just in front of this. But I think I'm going to have to put this in at number 2, because I really love this series. It's not perfect. Not that anything is. We say that, when you say that about a movie or a show, like, you know, it's not perfect, that's like, people feel like, oh, it's this big detriment. It's like probably a 60% out of 100% kind of show. But, you know, there are just a couple of things. Like, no, it doesn't really have too bad of pacing issues, I don't think. You probably just could have cut maybe that subplot, that secondary subplot, a little bit shorter, a little bit smaller, and maybe cut it back an episode or two. But, you know, for what we got on the whole, I thought it was a great series. I'll give it 4 out of 5. It's definitely a massive recommendation from me. Hopefully we'll get Season 2. I really hope so. I would love to see it. What did you guys think of The Punisher? Have you watched it all? Like, what did you think of the end of the first episode? Like, that was great. Like, I love that. Tell me what you liked about The Punisher, what you didn't like. Tell me about Jon Bernthal. You know, where would you like to see The Punisher go? Who else would you like to see him punish? I mean, what did you think of the tail end of that last episode? What did you think of the violence? Did you think it was too violent? Not violent enough? I mean, tell me. Let me know. I want to hear it. Anyway, geez, I think that's it, guys. Wow. Like I said, it's tough sitting here doing an episode on your own, but I don't know. I think I did okay. I hope you guys enjoy it. I guess we'll wrap it up. If you want to find us online, you can find the Bearded Geeks on Facebook, facebook.com/BeardedGeeksPod. If you want to listen to the show, you can check us out on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Just search for the Bearded Geeks. And the pod is on all three of those platforms, so you can check us out there. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram. If you want to buy a t-shirt, you can jump on TeePublic. And if you want to check out Drop the Beard, you can check out our Spotify playlist. Just search for the Bearded Geeks or Drop the Beard to check out all the music we nominate every week. Thank you, guys. Thank you for sitting here with me this week and listening. I hope you've enjoyed this solo episode. Tell me what you thought about it. Maybe one day in the future, depending on how you guys receive this, maybe we'll do another solo one in the future. But, you know, I could have probably brought someone in with me tonight to fill the air. But, you know what, this is like a little challenge that I just wanted to set myself to see, you know what, if I could do it on my own. And, you know, I think I did okay. But, you know, I miss the boys. I miss the banter. So, from all us here in the Beard Cave, from me here in the Beard Cave, I want to thank everyone who listens to the show. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you all next week on the Bearded Geeks. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening. Hey.